Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome everybody into the Overreaction Buffalo post-game show on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by Believe. My name is Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired, sitting alongside my two good friends, former Buffalo Bills, Jerry Ostrowski and John Fina. You can find them on Twitter at Ostrowski_Big O and at John Fina. Please do us a favor. Please like, please subscribe, whatever platform you are consuming this video on, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or wherever else, X. Please like it, please subscribe it, please tell a friend if you were listening to this in post. So here's some information for those of you that might be catching this live with us. All of these episodes, these video episodes, drop as podcasts. We have been instructed to let you know more often that they are podcasts out there for you to listen to. So if you were looking to get a hold of any of our content, if you missed a show live, please know whatever podcast platform you consume podcasts on, you can find it, whether Spotify, Apple, Amazon, I don't even know, Podbean. Like, there's a million different ones out there, but they're all out there for you to grab. Please like and subscribe. The Buffalo Bills, the 6-2 Buffalo Bills, hosted a desperate 2-5 Dolphins team on what was one of the most glorious fall days here in Western New York that I can remember. I got sunburnt today. That's how beautiful it was. A game that started out with the Bills offense struggling to find themselves just a little bit, but then fired into a back and forth slugfest of sorts between two teams, culminating in a Bills victory off of a 61-yard franchise record field goal from a much maligned kicker in Tyler Bass. Tyler Bass, gentlemen, the hero of the week. Ugly wins still count as wins. We talk about it all the time, but gentlemen, happy Victory Monday. How you feeling?
It's blissful, Joe. The pause, I just can't define it. I mean, honestly, though, at the end of the game, I was depleted. I just had to sit on the couch for a few minutes and just kind of, holy cow, wait for my heart rate to come down.
Yeah, I've earned this glass of bourbon. I've earned it.
You worked hard for that there, bourbon.
I worked hard for this one. Jerry, Mr. Silence over there, how are you feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling really good, man. I'm really happy for Tyler Bass. I was happy he was able to make that kick. He needed to make that kick. Big moment in his career. Post-game press conference, Sean McDermott talked at length about it, talked about how he handled them bringing in another kicker, how they had guys on site trying out, and just how he handled himself as a pro, continued to do his process, didn't change anything, and obviously makes a huge kick today. And that's what it's all about. I mean, especially, redeem yourself after the extra point. Now, it didn't really come back to haunt us because we have the 2-point conversion to make up for it. But no, really, really happy for Bass. Big time for what he did today.
I'm not sure if you guys could hear it on the broadcast, but the crowd, so clearly the stadium was chewing through its fingernails on that last drive. That just the Bills had trouble at different times through this game. I would say through most of the game, the Bills had trouble finding some sense of a rhythm, which normally we see the Bills move into more of an up-tempo offense when they struggle like that throughout the course of a game to kind of find themselves. Even in that last drive, they were struggling. And when the 61-yard field goal became imminent, meaning that this is what was about to happen, the crowd cheered when Tyler Bass came on the football field. It was a very, I thought immediately of you, Jerry, just as far as what you had talked about in the past with Mike, I believe it was Mike Piazza, right?
Yes. No, it wasn't Piazza. It was Trey Turner.
Trey Turner versus the opposite potential, which is 61-yard field goal, our last hope. They run him out on the field and the crowd doesn't cheer. So it was a very cool moment to hear the crowd cheer when Tyler Bass came on the field, even for field goal.
Well, right? I think the biggest thing is that it was such a non-Sean McDermott-like decision.
Right.
I think that was the biggest thing about this whole deal. And I stated that on Twitter. I'm like, these are the decisions he has to make if he wants to ultimately win a championship. You can't be, Captain Analytics, and you can't be scared to put your defense in a bad position. And you got to be able to take risk when risk is worthy. And this was one of those times. Even though Bass has struggled some this year, they knew he had enough leg to make that kick. That kick would have been good from 65, not just 61.
Yeah.
But those are the types of decisions. So first of all, that was the biggest thing to me was just the fact that McDermott put his team in that position, because there's enough time. They had 2 timeouts, and there was enough time to where they could go down, and if we miss that kick, they get the ball on the 49-yard line. One completion, next thing you know, they're trying to kick a long field goal to win it. So props to McDermott for making that decision. The other thing is that I want to get into.
We already did that down in Houston, Jerry, right? Backed up. We decided 3 passes, punt, and boom, game over. We lose.
Exactly.
So he might have been thinking about that, but I agree with you. I applaud that decision. I was a little surprised. I won't say that I wasn't. Obviously, it's one thing to kick in an empty stadium or on the practice field, but then to go out there with all of Bill's Mafia and a few very upset Dolphins fans and do it on national television, that's a heavy burden. And congrats to that kid. That was insanely cool. And I think you're wrong, Jerry. I think that was good from jersey number 70 yards.
I think the other thing that I learned today, and it kind of puts some things into light, the Diggs decision, Mike Edwards not playing, those types of things. This is a really, really tight football team. This is a team that if the players and coaches don't trust one another, you're not going to get into that group. And ultimately, the support that this team had and the coaching staff, the support they had for Bass, was a big part of that decision. And it was cool when I watched the post game, watched the locker room celebration, listened to McDermott in the post game. You could tell that crew might have been happier that Bass had the opportunity and made the kick than the kick going through and winning the game. I think that, yes, winning the game is the most important thing, but that group was really excited for him that he was able to have that moment of success, in the middle of such a tumultuous X amount of months that started last year in the playoffs. So, I think that kind of brought to light some things with this crew.
Yeah, for sure. It was a special moment. I was surprised at Josh Allen choking up in his on-field post-game presser. I was surprised at Sean McDermott choking up, and I was surprised in his locker room speech, and I was very much not surprised, but I mean, Bass was practically in tears as far as that goes. I mean, you could see that whatever's going on. And the interesting thing is Tyler Bass, we've talked about it in the past that kicking field goals is a lot like golf in your golf swing. And Tyler Bass, I can tell you from firsthand experience, is a great golfer. So there's a lot of this rhythm and understanding, in many facets of his life that he understands, the process and body motion and swings and where things are supposed to be, yada, yada, all that stuff. But it was great to see him get whatever. It's probably not behind him, but I'm sure this is going to do wonders to get him to where he wants to go. Real quick, just want to say welcome to everybody in the chat. There's a whole bunch of you. Thank you for joining us. If you are watching us on YouTube or X, jump over to YouTube, jump in the comments section over there. There's a lot of our great friends that are having conversations around not only this game, but also what we're talking about. But there was a lot of storylines in this football game. I mean, the amount of how do I want to say it? So we've seen officials get in the middle of a football game in the past, right? And this one just reeked of what is going on. The Taylor Rapp gets completely trucked. I don't remember if it was Mostert or if it was A-Chain, but literally speared him head straight down, which is a penalty on the offense, and Taylor Rapp gets the flag for it. And then I've never seen the amount of people on Twitter come out as it pertains to non-Bills related media members, whether it was Duke Preston or just different NFL people that are where were the holds? You took literally points off the board on a spectacular run from Josh Allen, and there was no holds there. It was interesting to see, but the Bills not only had to overcome the Dolphins, who came ready to play, but they also had to overcome the refs, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I would say that they would say the same thing. But it was very clearly, a foul by Jordan Poyer, right?
Yeah.
But in the end, we have to say kind of evened out. Now, we don't like how it evened out, but what really kind of galls me is these plays are so significant, not the holding because they're so subjective, but that call on Taylor Rapp, that's an easily reviewable play.
For sure.
That should be, hey, you know what? Looks like a foul. Let's take a quick look at it. Oh, no, the running back actually is spearing the defender. That to me is just a little too much of, well, the helmet's anywhere near the other helmet. we're making the call when it's not so clear. A lot of players around. The phantom holding calls, look, those things happen. But what's shocking to me is usually you just want to expect they go in both directions. I don't remember. I should have looked it up. Number 74 for the Dolphins. That guy had talons, man. He was reaching and pulling on everybody. Ed Oliver, I found 4 occasions where he was held, and it wasn't one of those situations where he was over on one hash and the play was on the numbers on the other side. These were effective holds that changed the outcome of the play. So it's extremely frustrating. And, you know, the only thing that we would always say, and we as fans say it, as players, we say, hey, we got to beat the Zebras too, right? We have to be so perfect. It's a shame that it just represented so poorly and one-sided until we finally got 1 or 2 calls.
Yep.
I think that it's not just a Bill situation. It's a league-wide pandemic. I mean, there was multiple calls today across the league that were so suspect and just blatantly not good. You had a player ejected for the Detroit Lions in a phantom targeting type of deal. They called the personal foul. The league called down and ejected the player. There was a play in the Eagles game where Saquon Barkley clearly had his shin swiped by a defensive lineman. He ended up fumbling when he went down. They called, and Jacksonville picked it up, ran it back for a touchdown. They reviewed it and still got it wrong. It's become a league-wide pandemic, and it's not. If you can't get replay right, how do you expect these guys to get live plays correct
in the moment?
To me, the funniest thing was the only one to me that was blatantly obvious was the Jordan Poyer helmet-to-helmet personal foul at the end. You know, and that's a product of Jordan just getting up there in age and getting there a couple of steps late. And you got to lunge and try to make the tackle. He dipped his head and went helmet-to-helmet. That was the easiest one, but the holding calls were, I mean, these are calls that affect a lot of things, not just the game, but standings and everything else. And it's got to get taken care of.
Peyton plays on cue. My guy Peyton with the super chat says, "Wait, there's a flag in the pod holding on Joe Miller."
We know. Hey, Peyton, we do that all the time. We flag Joe all the time.
Often.
I mean, we do it in our chat on the Discord. We get Joe on that all the time. Jerry, I want to ask you. I do not hold any venom for Jordan Poyer for anything at all. And even that hit, a lot of people were losing it, you know, calling him dirty. The physics involved, the speed, the split second timing, like you're not looking at Jordan and saying you're an SOB for that, are you?
I'm not. I mean, somebody that I know.
You're pointing in the wrong direction.
I'm sorry. How's that? Somebody I know might have that opinion about a couple of plays he's made this season against former teammates.
I
don't. I really don't.
I'll clear up what I said.
When we have Tyler Rapp playing in the secondary, who is as bad as anybody. Taylor Rapp.
All right, let's move on.
No. Taylor Rapp absolutely is a guy that I'll use the word targets a little bit. And all I put on Twitter, and members of Jordan's family are good friends of mine. And but I stand by what I said. And what I said was effectively this: Jordan leaves the Buffalo Bills, and all of a sudden he's headhunting some of our guys. He did it in week 2 to Khalil Shakir, where he literally stuck his head down and went at Khalil's head. And in this game, he lunged at Keon's head. He could I know that it's a bang play. I know that these guys have to be in control of their bodies, which is incredibly difficult, but we see guys do it all the time. It wasn't even I went at him with my shoulder and nailed him with my shoulder and my head got in the way. Hang on a second. But this is what I want to say about Jordan. I don't believe that Jordan's a dirty player at all. I don't think, like, there was a bunch of people that climbed into my mentions after that tweet talking about this is who he's always been. And I disagree vehemently. Jordan Poyer has never been a dirty player. Is he a tough SOB? Yes. Does he throw his body around and put his body like at risk for the team? Yes. But it's just bizarre to me that like it's happened twice against us in 2 different games that were just plays that I felt didn't need to be made. He could have broken that play up, which he did. That was the most important. If he does, Dolphins fans are mad at Jordan Poyer because they feel like he lost in the game. Well, if he doesn't do that, Keon Coleman catches that football.
Yeah, exactly. And let me clarify, Joe. I wasn't coming after you. That's number one.
I know.
Number
take
two,
it, so I can take it.
Jordan played like that for us too. And you know what? I appreciate that. He plays hard. He is definitely physical. And then the other point that you kind of made was, and Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't get 3 of those opportunities in a game to that timing to work like that. You might see one of those every 3 or 4 games. It just happened to be against us twice. But Joe, I'm not calling you out. But I don't think that he's got an evil bone in his body. I don't think it was.
I don't think so either.
There was any malevolence.
I don't think so either. Jerry, you're thinking something. Do you want to say something?
No, I said my piece on this. y'all keep talking.
I don't even know what to take from that. Other thoughts on the game, fellas?
Yes.
Let you go. Yeah, go ahead, Jerry.
I mean, to me, this is we continually talk about fast starts. We continually talk about run defense. We continually talk about all these things. This is who the Bills are. And I think we're going to have to understand some things about Buffalo in that, yes, we'd like them to start a little bit faster. I wish we would. I think the Dolphins did a really good job game plan wise. I thought they pressed the line of scrimmage quite a bit early. I don't think we lose Amari Cooper, so they go to the lack of respect for the wide receiver position
100%.
and really played a lot of man and squeeze that line of scrimmage. Defensively, I don't think Miami ran a ton of zone blocking. I don't think they ran a ton of true blue double team stuff. They run a lot of angle blocks. They run a lot of single stuff inside. They really like to get at least one of their uncovered guys up front up to the second level as quick as they possibly can. We did not perform well at all. The entire defensive line, I thought, did not play well because we did not get any pressure on Tua whatsoever.
Oh, he gets the ball out so fast.
No. This is an offense that has very much respectfully, even last week, given up a lot of sacks. Like, this is one of the worst teams as it pertains to sack.
Right. We did not get pressure on Tua. We weren't going to blitz a ton to put pressure on our defensive backs, considering that we had Benford out of the game, because they are not going to give up the big play. And our inside defensive tackles were getting one-on-one blocked most of the game. I thought Ed Oliver, after having a tremendous game against him the first time, was average at best.
Yeah.
Daquan was average at best. The backups struggled mightily. But here's the deal that you've got to all understand. They will give up chunk runs all day long.
Yes, they will.
They are not going to give up 45, 50-yard touchdowns. It's just the way it's going to be. So if you want this defense to turn into this run-stuffing defensive line where we go out and find 340, 50-pound guys that are grabbing centers and guards and all this stuff, it's not going to happen. That's not what they do. They have no answer for bigger personnel. You saw Miami come in and run fullbacks. They brought bunch formations in, tight ends, the whole 9 yards. We're not going to bring a third linebacker in. We're going to stay in that 4-2-5. We'll bring Johnson down and line him up in that position. But that's what they do. That's what they're going to be. So if you hate to see chunk runs, go be a fan of another team, because that's what you're going to see here, because they are not going to give up big plays in the passing game. It's that simple.
And Jerry, one thing that Joe mentioned earlier in our discussion was the Bills really didn't put together any consistent drives. It just didn't feel right. There wasn't a great flow. And when you look at the stat line, and we're talking about the run defense right now, they didn't have, some incredible average at more than, I think, 4.6 yards per carry. They established their run, and they did it very well. The important thing, as we always talk about, is we're kind of a bend, don't break, tighten up when the field gets tighter. We did that. We traded body blows with this team. We scored on 6 of, I think, 8 drives, and they scored on 5 of 9 drives, right? 5 of 9 drives. And in the end, when you look at the stat line, it was crazy even. And I think this is the game. This is the game that they feel good about.
Which stat line are you talking about? Because total yards, yes, but passing yards, yes, but rushing yards, they had 149 rushing yards to our 94, and they were averaging better than 5.
That
Like,
was the only stat line where they were truly superior, but number of first downs, passing,
correct.
running, 4th and 4, we were both 50% on 3rd down. It just in the grand scheme of it all, the same thing I mentioned about the penalties, at the right time, we got one that haunted them,
Yeah.
and we were able to kind of stop them despite, some pretty interesting stats by them.
Right, but this is kind of a mirror of game one. Okay, if you looked at our stats game one, our stats statistically, offensively, they outgained us. They had more time of possession. They had more first downs. They had all that stuff. The difference was Tua throws 3 picks. That's 3 less possessions they have. We stopped drives and we're in good position and we score points. Of course, we get the one fumble today, which was an amazing play by Johnson. I mean, just world-class play by Johnson. And we get points on, but it's funny to me how this works. And I talked about it Thursday with the A-chain thing, and both of their backs are tremendous. They did a job on us and controlled the game in the running game. One of the things they did do that I was surprised at is they gave us some cushion on the outside that set up a lot of those short, quick passes we had. I was surprised by that because I didn't think they would respect our receiving crew that way, where they were giving us some cushion, and we did some things out there that helped us offensively. But no, it's we win this football game, but still statistically and things. I mean, Miami controlled things pretty well.
Jerry, do you think we hit those quickies when we saw them bringing pressure? Because that's traditionally what you do. You're going to soften on the edge if you're going to bring pressure up the middle, and you're going to play shell over the top, right? So,
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
that you could look at as great prep, great reading of the offense, or great reading of the defense by Joe Brady, Josh Allen, and then the nudge, nudge, wink, wink, and get that ball out.
I actually think it's Josh. Obviously, the interception he threw, that was a touchdown. That was a tremendous play on him, raising up and throwing that slant with nobody in center field to make the play. I'm really surprised Keon didn't catch that ball. I mean, it got in on him. That was a touchdown. So there's 7 points there we don't have. But yeah, I think some of it was
the holding penalty, calling back Josh Allen's touchdown. There's another 7 that we don't have.
I think some of it was, you're right, John. So, and when we look at all 22, we'll see it. Some of it was the blitzing and stuff. But I think Josh is starting to get comfortable, because there's a couple of times he just raises up and throws it outside. That's pre-snap stuff he saw. Sure. It's not necessarily reading or the play that was called.
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Going back to what you said, Jerry, as far as you're 100% right. This is a bend but don't break defense, classic in every stretch or every definition of that phrase. They even say it like, we're going to give up plays between the 30s, between the 20s, but we're predicated on not giving up the touchdown. And I think what stresses, and I said in the Discord channel that the defense just looks like it's on cruise control, and you came over the top and said, well, no, they're just doing what they always do, which is literally what I meant. Like, literally what I meant was they're just out there basically playing their base defense. And where the black and white gets weird for, I think, us fans, is we have watched this team, to their credit, overwhelming credit, make adjustments in the second half, and then basically, to what you were saying, snuff out defenses and like suck up the run, and like teams can't run on them anymore. And then there's other times where it just looks like the defense doesn't have an answer. So this is what you're going to do to us, and you're going to rip off 5 yards, 4 yards, 8 yard chunks.
Right.
And that's where I think for us, we get a little disillusioned, might be the word, because we have an expectation that you can adjust. And I think sometimes the Bills are like, we have no adjustment for this.
As much as I like to not think it, I mean, we play money ball. Okay. This is analytical football. We are an analytical driven football team.
For sure.
Our head coach plays the percentages. That's why him kicking the 61-yard field goal at the end was such a shock. But it's something you have to do. I mean, at some point in time, you can play analytics as much as you want, but to win big games, you got to have a gut feeling and you got to go with it. You can't just keep looking at a piece of paper and saying, okay, well, this is this percentage, so we're not going to do it. You got to have a gut feeling. And that's what he did at the end of the game. And that was what was good to me. That's what I'd like to see. But
agreed.
We are an analytical football team, man. It's money ball, dude. And it's just, you got to get used to it.
Yeah, for sure. But Jerry's point is spot on, and it's not that we haven't talked about it before. They will tell you, if you listen to them, they will tell you that we play defense in such a way to make them draw out drives, and hopefully they make a mistake. Today, the Dolphins, even though they didn't win this football game, they didn't make a whole lot of mistakes. So like their second drive, 9 plays, 49 yards, results in 3 points. Their third drive, 14 plays, 97 yards, results in a touchdown. The next, then they go 3 and out at the half, 9 plays, 65 yards, and results in points in a field goal. 9 plays, 70 yards, results in a touchdown. 11 plays, 81 yards, results in a touchdown. They just didn't make those mistakes. They had the one fumble, right? So they had the one giveaway, but they don't make those mistakes that generally teams that play against this Bills defense make, right? So it's funny because what defenses want to do to Josh Allen is draw him out to make him impatient to throw a deep ball and like make a mistake that way. The Bills effectively just want to draw it out to make you make a mistake, whatever that mistake looks like. Penalty, bad play, turnover, whatever it might be. We don't really care. It's just to your point. It was very well stated. So just to your point. So yeah.
Yeah, I generally don't like this game will be won by who has the ball last. But
they only said that about 65 times.
Yeah, but I kind of was like, oh man, I sure hope we get the ball last. When Miami scored their final touchdown, and then we got the ball and we drove, and I was like, God, now I'm trying to think like we need to score super fast. Because if they score, then we want the ball back so we could score. And I'm starting to get into this mental gymnastics, and I'm like, just watch the damn game, you moron.
Right.
I hate to tell you guys this, but they were right. 65 times they said it, and they were.
I know.
Well, actually, they weren't. Actually,
oh,
they
you're
were
right.
Miami had the ball back. But
well, yeah.
No,
okay.
I think that the biggest thing Miami did today that, at some point we figure we're going to stop the run a little bit. We couldn't stop the run at all.
Yes.
Schemed up very, very well.
Well, it was weird because we didn't stop the 5+ runs, but they didn't get a ton of like 2-yard runs here and there. We bottled them up pretty good. It was just either feast or famine. It was the strangest thing. I'm like, that looks like the play that they ran the last time. And I'm going to give plenty of credit. Those 2 running backs are elite. Yes. I mean, you take one guy off and you put basically the same guy back in. Those 2 guys are studs, and they had our number. I don't think that Bernard and Williams were coming off blocks very well and filling. I don't think the front 4 were really defeating those man blocks, Jerry, like you said. And it was even though we played the bend don't break, Joe, your job on a one-on-one matchup is to defeat the guy in front of you, to leverage that guy.
And I think it's what I was saying earlier about how Miami likes to single up inside to get 1 or 2 of their free linemen up to the second level because, like I've talked about before, our linebackers aren't very big. If you can get hands on them, even though you might not contain them, you usually can get them to where if they're reaching, they're not going to make arm tackles. They're not those types of linebackers. And I think Miami's run scheme is really, really good with that. It gets guys in their face right away where they don't know what to do with them.
Yeah. It was a hell of a game. That's all. I mean, in the end,
it was a great football game. And it's funny because we came out of last week's game like, well, nothing to talk about. They pretty much did everything perfectly, and it was kind of not a boring show, but we even talked about it before the show, during the show, and after the show that there wasn't really much for us to talk about. In this one, they gave us some entertainment, right? So as much as we've talked in the past about like they never just win a game, they did that last week, and then this week
I wanted to throw this up here from Richard Rush because
that's Rennie Brooks. You grabbed the wrong one.
Sorry,
there you
go. I meant to put Richard up, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Sorry about that. Yeah, Richard, I wanted to say something about Elam, but man, I just don't want to get attacked either, right? I thought
why would you get attacked?
He's my dude award. He's going to be my dude award for the show. Like,
okay. So now
that's great.
Blow that.
Way to blow that. Hey, everybody. All right. This is the Overreaction Postgame.
Show's over.
Show's over.
Why don't we just go
over?
You want to throw some stats and then do the dudes, or what do you want to do now?
Yes, but I'm defending you. Like you can talk about.
You probably told your kids that Santa Claus wasn't real too, didn't you?
Oh, I got a great story about that.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
I
Mr.
got-
Bugs, you know.
I got a great.
And as they're
It's
crying,
officially,
walking up the stairs, and you're like, and the Easter Bunny's not real either.
it's
No,
officially,
the Easter Bunny is real.
it's officially Christmas season, so I can tell the story. It'll take a half a second. It'll take more than half a
Okay.
second. But literally, we sat Addison down, our youngest, and she's got the most tender heart ever. And we're like, look, we need to tell you something. And I don't remember how old she was. She was a little bit older. She wasn't young, but it was beyond the point of she should know these things. We just wanted to finally confirm it to her. So literally, we told her the story that Santa Claus, the premise of who Santa Claus was, Kris Kringle, yada yada yada, Saint Nick, used to be a real person. He doesn't exist anymore, but he was a person and he died. And immediate, like, just tears, like, and we're like, what is the matter? She goes, Santa died. We were like, well, he's not. I mean, yes, we didn't die like recently, but like her whole thing was that he was a real person who had died, and that's where her heart was broken. Not that he didn't actually exist in today's world. Sorry.
Oh my God!
So,
$40,000 in therapy later, and she's gonna.
well, some kids are like, Mom and Dad, you've been lying to me for how long? And our kid was like, Santa died, and like started crying immediately.
Did you throw in the?
Did you get a shoebox and bury a doll out in the
Yeah.
yard?
Did you throw in that the Christmas tree was originally a pagan symbol as well? While you're
Oh,
at
they
it?
know. They're very aware of, and that Jesus was not born on December 25th, and it's all based around the
Yeah,
winter solstice and
yeah.
yada yada yada. No, they're very aware of
Yeah.
all of that kind of stuff.
Wonderful.
But anyways, we digress. So, do we want to get into some stats, or is there something else you want to talk about as far as this game goes before I jump into it?
I'm just saying,
No.
Joe, you should have put a disclaimer out there. There's a comment about 4UP that's making me feel really, really nervous.
I'm starting to wonder who I really partnered with right now.
What does 4UP mean? Where do you see that? I don't know what you're talking about 4UP, but anyway.
Here, I'll show you right there. Yeah, there you go.
Oh gosh!
Great job, Joe. Wonderful.
Hey, listen, there's a button on these shows that says it's not made for kids. I don't know what you guys want from me.
Honestly, I'm really sweating right now. Like I'm in a deep panic.
Tonight, Channel 2 News, Joe Miller ruins Christmas for thousands of kids across Western New York.
Now you're just piling on. Cut it out. Right,
I'm really this red and sunburned in this game. Stat, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, Amanda. Sorry, Amick. Amick, I apologize. Please apologize to everybody for me if I ruined anything. Get out of the room. Go.
Like that covers it.
Parents
Would
all
you
over.
like to talk about the Christmas elf too while you're at it, Joe?
Oh my God.
We want to
Can
go
we
there
move on before I die.
How about the Tooth Fairy? You want to throw the Tooth Fairy in there?
Oh my, I can't breathe. Tua Tagovailoa, as I'm trying to get in past this moment, had it himself a day. 25 of 28, 231 yards, 2 touchdowns in this football game. Achan, however you want to pronounce his name, 12 for 63 yards with a 5.2 yard average, 1 touchdown on the day. Mostert was 10 for 56, 5.6. Again, you guys can stop me anytime you want to talk about any specific player or whatnot. Jalen Wright, 6 for 18. They had like 5 guys running footballs in this game, including Tua Tagovailoa, who had 2 rushes in this game. Tyreek Hill, 4 for 80, 20-yard average. Again, the Bills hold him under 100. I think this was potentially the best day he's had against the Bills. Is that right? I keep hearing that he hasn't ever really had like a big game against us. Achan, 8 for 58, 7.2 yard average with a touchdown. So Achan had 2 touchdowns on the day. Jonnu Smith had a couple great catches in this game, 5 for 46. That's a player that it's kind of nice to see come back to life because he was a monster in Tennessee. He went to the Patriots and vanished. I don't know what Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels was doing with this guy, but then he goes back to Miami, and they've learned how to use him and put him back into kind of that elite status for a tight end that he is or should have been. Mostert, 2 for 32. Odell Beckham Jr., actually, I think this is the first real action he's seen all year as well after complaining this week. 3 catches for 15 yards, and then a couple other guys as well. The Buffalo Bills in this football game, Josh Allen, 25 of 39. I don't know. Does anybody know that? I'll do the math real quick. 25 of 39. So 2.5 divided by 3.9. Not the best day for him, but not a bad day, 64%. James Cook, 235, 3 touchdowns, and then the interception. It wasn't really his fault. Keon Coleman clearly possibly should have caught that football. James Cook, 10 for 44, 4.4. Ty Johnson. I wanted to ask you guys a question while we're talking about the running backs. So James Cook, 10 for 44. Ty Johnson, 3 for 23. Ray Davis, 4 for 20. And then Josh had the 2. How did you guys feel about the way they were rotating these guys? Because it was almost like they weren't necessary. Cook got the bulk of the carries, but Ty Johnson comes in, rips off that 17-yard run immediately off the field, and James Cook is right back in the game. Did you feel like the rotation of like new guy was odd, or was that?
I've been saying it for a while. I'll say it again. I listened to McDermott's press conference after the game. He talked about, he made a funny thing. So, yeah, and you guys say I don't play rookies. Well, obviously these guys contributed, and you got to earn it. You got to earn your playing time. Well, Ray Davis has earned more than about 6 touches a game.
Agreed.
Ray needs to get the ball more. I understand that James Cook is your guy. You trust him. He had a big drop that might have been a touchdown. Probably would have been a touchdown if he catches that ball. But, Ray Davis has to play more. Even to me, Johnson should not be the second player on the field. It should be Ray Davis. And that's nothing against Johnson, but Ray Davis has shown repeatedly he's got home run ability, and he needs to be on the field more. That's just the way I feel about it.
I agree.
You know what? I agree. I'm not upset. I think that would be a good modification. I mean, between the 3 of them, they had 17 carries with James Cook having 10. So, you take the 3 away from Ty Johnson, Ray has 7. It's still short of Cook. I'm okay with it. I could go either way. I mean, we had good success with all of them for the most part. So it would be nice to get Ray a little bit more involved, get him more touches. I think he's earned it, but I'm not cracking on it.
There's something to be said for what you guys are talking around, which is effectively, this goes back to the old game plans for Bills. And this game was never out of reach. The Bills were down by 7 points at one point in the game. They were leading through the game. They were tied for a lot of the game, leading at a couple different points. 39 passing attempts and then 17 rushing attempts. 2 obviously one was a called run play for Josh Allen. I think the other one was an off script play. That play load doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense from what we've been seeing, and even the way the game played out, right? So the running backs were being successful. Why are we throwing the ball 40 times in this football game?
I agree with you. I was going to bring that up earlier. I thought we could have pressed the run a little bit more. We were having success. You might say that Brady saw something. He wanted to make sure he was delivering, hey, I'm confident in the receiver core, even without AC in there. But generally, you're going to get from these 2 guys on the screen here that we need to run the ball a little bit more than we did.
Probably because we were in a shootout. We couldn't stop them on defense. And the guy that throws the ball is the best player on our team.
Fair.
So therefore, they were keeping the ball in his hands more than they were giving it. That's the way I look at it. And I think that's kind of part of the theory behind what we do. We can bend and not break, but if we do break, we're going to score points because we've got 17.
Yeah. And
I just think that at that point in time, when the game and the way the flow was going, and it was back and forth, and we had, Kevin Harlan, whoever has the ball last is going to win. You got to give 17 the opportunity to do it. So that's the way I look at it.
I wouldn't say it was so egregious that I was sitting there saying, run the freaking ball like I have in the past and, as a JV coach and a college football fan. But certainly, Jerry makes a great point, as much as I begrudgingly admit that.
It's a funny comment.
The JV comment got me. I'm still laughing. I so want to come to a game and just sit in the stands and watch Fina coach. I really do. Oh,
you would know. I think a kid quit because of me.
You said that last week. Getting back to this football game, receivers for the Buffalo Bills, 9 potential targets. Ray Davis leading the way with 2 receptions for 70 yards. He had the long touchdown catch. In the most beautiful screenplay, throw to the flat I think we've ever seen. There was nobody out there. He had 1 man to beat. He beat him, and it was off to the races. It was a beautiful, which they did to us, only it didn't end in a touchdown. They ran the exact same play against us to the opposite side, which I guess as a fan asking football players, I don't understand how that doesn't either happen more often or how it happens at all. Does that make sense?
Well, it timed up beautifully. Josh read that they were bringing pressure. So typically running backs will get lost when they're leaking out of the backfield. And we like to call all those a wheel route, but now they've come up with a new name for it. Now it's a rail. So he just ran a quick rail right out of the backfield. And, that's the gamble, Joe. You bring pressure, you're giving something up. It's whether or not you can get the ball off quickly enough, not get it tipped, make sure the guy catches it, and then support comes, and you make a tackle. Well, Ray Davis said, "You're not tackling me," and took it to the house. It was gorgeous.
But he had 30 yards before anybody got to him. Go ahead, Jer.
But what I will say is when we started, popping some runs, I go back to what I learned on Monday on the John Fina off tackle show. John, they ran back again. They ran your S 50, 58, 57, 58S, or what do you call it? 58, 59S, where they press the weak side zone and then hop back behind the center. Had a couple good runs with that, and that was another staple in their running game. And I learned that on the off tackle show with John Fina, which you all should watch as well.
Yeah, it'll be on tomorrow at 8 p.m. I'd love to see you break down that play. Even if you wanted to do both, the Dolphins long gainer off the same play, just to the opposite side.
Well, did you not watch last week, Joe? John broke it down last week. Very admirable.
I believe I was traveling. I was unable to watch it last week.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd also like to see the misdirection play to the flat to Shakir, where literally he catches the football and there's 4 defenders there and no other offensive players in front of him. I'd love to know how that play sets up to that result. Do you guys know the play? Well, you should know the play because I complained about it in the Discord chat.
All I have to say is I'm inclined to choose whatever plays I want.
Moving on. Khalil Shakir, 6 for 50 in this game. Continues just to be Josh Allen's support blanket. I'm at the point now where certain situations I'm like, just throw it to Shakir, and they do, and the dude is slippery and sure-handed and catches the football and gets yards every time. Dalton Kincaid, 4 for 32. Mac Hollins, 5 for 30 with the touchdown. Great touch. It was a 4th down play, right? His touchdown catch, which had us all nervous. And I believe he had Dawson Knox underneath as well. So he basically chose Mac Hollins over top of Knox. James Cook, 5 for 25. Keon Coleman, 1 for 21. Dawson Knox, 1 for 5. Quentin Morris, 1 for 2. And then Curtis Samuel had the 1 target, and they just can't seem to get this guy into the offense. Right? Anybody?
Yeah. No,
Bueller?
I'm good.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Carl, for the super chat. No more whining at Tyler Bass. He is our hero today.
Is that anybody's dude? Let's do the dudes.
Well, I would. I got a little more team stats. I would caution everybody not to go to the Rock Pile Report podcast then, if that's the case, because Drew has pretty much made it. He's like, that does not absolve him from the sins of the past. Yeah. One game when he kicked, and I'm like, I'm ready to give him the benefit of the doubt. But here we go. Yeah, let's. I'll finish these up. So total yards: the Dolphins 373, the Buffalo Bills 325. Passing yards 224 to 231 for the Bills. Rushing yards, as we already talked about, 149 to 94 for the Bills. Yards per play, 6.2 to 5.5. First downs, this is where John was talking about, very even, 26 to 24 for the Bills. Third down efficiency, both teams were at 50%, 4 of 8 for the Dolphins, 5 of 10 for the Bills. Fourth down efficiency, both teams were 1 for 1. Total plays, 60 to 59. Sacks allowed, both teams allowed 1. Punts, both teams had 1. Penalties, this is the Bills actually cleaned this up. We did not talk about penalties on this show, that the Bills only had 4, and 2 of them were phantom. 3 of them shouldn't even have been called against them, right? So what? We're probably talking about 1 penalty. Yeah. Fumbles lost, the great knockout by Taron Johnson, who I about had a heart attack when he was laying on the field as long as he was. Super thankful he came back in the game. And then Josh had the 1 pick, 31 time of possession, 32 minutes to basically 28 minutes. So anything in those stats jump out at anybody before we jump to the Dude Awards?
No, sir.
I love it.
Awesome.
Like I said, it was pretty damn even outside the run yardage, but man, it was a hell of a game.
So I'll go first because I've already kind of let it out of the bag along with the whole Santa Claus thing. Kair Elam was my due to the award. So on this show, we do due to the awards instead of thumbs up, thumbs down, arrow up, arrow down. We do dude, great job, or dude, you need to get better. And in wins, we do dude up, and in losses, we do dude down. So we're gonna be doing dude up awards, and with the overarching reality, as Jerry always likes to point out, that we never really give Josh Allen the dude award because he's Josh Allen. There are times he deserves it, but yes. So generally speaking, we don't give it to Josh. But to me, Kair Elam getting thrown into this game against at least part-time. I don't know what the averages were. I know that he didn't follow Tyreek Hill, the number 1 player in football, as voted on by the players. But he had to cover Tyreek a lot. And when he wasn't covering Tyreek Hill, he was either covering Jalen Waddle or he was covering, I think Odell Beckham Jr. was on the outside a couple times. Held his own in this football game. I thought he played extremely well. He was competitive. He fought. He challenged. He did all the things that you would want to see out of him. Maybe you guys can speak to, does this, what they asked him to do today against Tyreek, maybe fit his game style a little better than what the Bills usually do? But regardless, for me, dude, great job. You filled in for Christian Benford, who I was concerned heavily about being out, and you balled out today. Great job.
No, I think he did well. I think, showed a tremendous amount of toughness. His shoulder went out of place on that play on the sideline, popped it back in, came in and played. He just plays with more confidence now. Made a great play trying to strip the ball out. Now the guy was down, but he got the ball out. I think, like, McDermott said in training camp, a new coach, a fresh start at things. I think it's definitely done him good. And no, big time. And that's what you need to be. I mean, you're the third corner. Somebody gets hurt, when you're called upon, you got to play well. And other than that double move down the sideline, he was really good today.
Yeah.
I'd say he played in the parameters of the defensive philosophy that we brought to the game, and that's something to be said, right? So it wasn't flash on that side of the ball, but he didn't give anything up, didn't do anything horrendous, and I think that's a feather in his cap.
Super good. Who wants to go next? Dude award.
I'll go next.
You go, Jerry.
I'll go next. So, Terrell Bernard coming back, playing with the ankle. He's kind of reached that Josh Allen level with me. He's just a dude all the time. I really want to give Ray Davis the Dude Award, and he would be my pick for the Dude Award. But then I heard this little conversation on television. Connor McGovern has the offensive line over to his house every Friday, and he makes homemade wood-fired pizzas for the offensive line every Friday. He makes like 30 pies. Wow. And I said, a guy that can make 30 wood-fired pizzas is a dude, because that's not easy to do. But I also want to talk about the way he's been playing. Obviously, coming to that center position after being at a guard, he's filled in admirably. We don't have snap issues. He's picking up the communication. We're not having a lot of the free runners we had earlier in the year where maybe him and Josh were a little off. I mean, he's really bringing us he's really solidifying that group up front, which is what that center does. So besides the fact that he cooks wood-fired pizza for the boys on Friday night, his play also puts him in that dude level. So my dude, Connor McGovern, center, Penn State.
Well, that's awesome. I don't disagree with you. I love it. I think the O-line's playing really well. It's hard to pick them out one by one. So good on you, Jerry, for recognizing Connor McGovern. I would typically go back to the well because I was a fan of him at Boise State and say Shakir, and he Shakired all over the field again. But man, Mac Hollins and Tyler Bass, it's kind of a tie right there, but I love what Mac Hollins did. I think he's a bit of an unsung hero. His ability to block. He pulled in some really important catches today. He's a huge contributor in the kicking game. So despite Tyler Bass being absolutely incredible on, that final kick, I'm going to go with Mac Hollins.
Did you hear that, Joe?
Tyler Bass?
Hollins.
All I heard was Tyler Bass does not get a dude award.
I said it was more or less a tie.
Stop.
I wanted to applaud Mac Hollins.
No, he could have picked him.
We can't fight over this. This is my segment.
He had
Where are you pointing at? Right. You're pointing at nobody. You're pointing at nobody.
He had first pick. He could have picked him, but he didn't because he's too scared.
I'm not afraid to pick Tyler Bass.
Oh, if I pick him, then people will be mad.
Are we doing the dude down awards or no?
My dude down is Joe. Joe's my dude down for harassing John because he picked Mac Hollins because he can't stand it. That's my dude.
Oh, bye, Joe. Joe removed himself. Jerry, as far as the dude down, he came back. Now
dude down, exactly.
There he is.
I don't know why I get the brunt of all of this, but whatever. No, Tyler Bass had himself a great game today outside of missing a field goal or missing an extra point. I mean, he kicked a game-winning field goal.
Then we'll just put him in the Josh Allen category.
Yeah.
He is definitely not that dude. Right? I'm pretty much good with Terrell Bernard becoming that dude along with Josh Allen, but yeah. Let's see before we get out of here. So tomorrow, somewhere around 10 o'clock in the morning, live on YouTube will be the Aftermath with myself. 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, the Off Tack with John Fina show tomorrow. Tuesday on the beat. Why do I not? Is it Ryan Talbot? Let me just check real quick. 2 seconds, please hold. Please hold while my internet pulls this up. Yes, Tuesday this week on Tuesday is Ryan Talbot from the Shout Podcast. Wednesday, Hump Day Hotline with myself and Jay Spence the King. Thursday, the Big O Show, your first preview of the Bills' upcoming game against the Indianapolis Colts, where Jerry is going to get into the numbers, and then he's going to get into his keys of the game. He'll talk to Dr. Brad, which there were some injuries that came out. I was there.
Yeah.
It seems like as soon as we get healthy, it rolls back around again. And then like we lose like 4 or 5 guys, or like potentially lose 4 or 5 guys. But I don't know if you guys want to talk about injuries real quick or what you saw before I get us out of here. No, yes,
I never like to talk about them on the day. I like to wait.
Yeah.
I just want to know what we did to get on the wrist train.
It was pecs. It was first pecs. And then it was something else. And now it's wrists. Toes, pecs, toes, wrists. Right.
Yes.
Isn't that a kid's song?
I don't know. Don't ask me. I'll ruin it for everybody. If you ask me, I'll ruin it for everybody. So
then fingers, knees, and toes.
I thought you learned that in med school, I think, don't you?
Thanks for everybody in the comments. You guys have tolerated this pretty well.
Yes.
Congratulations. Happy victory Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to the Overreaction Postgame Show on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by Believe. My name is Joe Miller. The 2 guys above me, if you're watching me live right now, are Jerry Ostrowski and John Fina, former Buffalo Bills. And it's always great to get their insight and hear their takes on the Buffalo Bills playing, because they're not only former players for a very long time, but they're also fans of this team that we love. But we appreciate every single one of you guys. Please stick around for the shows we've got for the rest of the week. Tune in to the podcasts if you miss anything. But for me, for John, for Jerry, for all of us here at Overreaction, we love you guys. We'll talk to you soon. The Buffalo Bills are 7-2. Happy victory Monday. Happy victory Tuesday, to John's point. Happy victory all the days. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Much love. Go Bills.
Go Bills.